Just got this new light from Haapoja. It's super bright, tiny, and apparently it's waterproof. Pretty crazy. It's called the Haapoja Amaran ALMW. It's really nice. It also has all these effects like TV, lightning, fireworks, paparazzi. It's kind of cool. I'm not gonna use those right now, but I'll put it back. Okay, so have you ever taken a photo and then you've gone to edit it and it just doesn't pop? There's something off. It's just not popping. Your subject is just kind of blending in with the background. Well, I kind of had one of those moments today. We were outside in the freezing cold. Literally, it took like 5-10 minutes and my hands were completely numb. And we were taking a thumbnail for the how to film slow motion B-roll. And then when I went to edit it, maybe it was because of all the cold and all that, it just didn't look that great. It kind of looked flat. It was kind of being blended into the background. It turned out okay. It's not too bad. It's not good. It's kind of mediocre. But can we actually make this photo a lot better than it is right now? All right, so I add on my favorite preset, which is this sweet teal preset that I've been working on. I pretty much use it for everything. And then I go and adjust things a little bit. But it still doesn't pop. It's still a little bit off. Especially for thumbnails, I really want them to pop hard so they really stick out in the crowd of thumbnails. I want your eyes to be drawn to my thumbnails every single time. So I need this to pop a lot more. And just as a little bit of a warning, for my thumbnails, I do go a little bit harder, a little bit more stylized than I would for something like an Instagram photo. The problem with this photo is that the camera, me, everything's kind of blending into the background. There's a bunch of things in this photo that are fighting for your attention, which is usually a bad thing. But is there anything we can do in post to fix this, to make it a little bit more punchy, a little bit more poppy? Now there's a bunch of ways that you could do this, but I'm gonna give you 5 ways that I usually like to make the subject pop out a little bit more from the background. And first off, we just gotta make a brush selection, a mask around our subject. And then we want to do the exact same thing for the background. So you're going to have one for your subject and one for your background. Now we have the ability to control things on the subject and the background separately, and this is really important. So first up, we can change the contrast. We can add more contrast to the subject to make it pop more, to make your eyes be more attracted to that. Or we can take away contrast from the background, again, drawing our eyes to the subject because it's the most contrasty thing in the image. And we can even do both. We can take away from the background and we can add to the subject, me in this case. And that right away makes it a lot more punchy, makes the subject really stand out. And with contrast, you can even just change the exposure. So in this case, I actually brightened up the background a little bit more because I was wearing this really dark jacket. So it's just bringing a lot of contrast between me and the background. Number 2, we can add sharpness. So we can add sharpness to the subject, or again, we can take away sharpness from the background. And remember, you can do both. Now this isn't gonna be as nice as having really nice shallow depth of field for the background, but it is gonna help quite a bit if you keep it subtle to really make your subject stand out. Number 3, clarity. It's kind of one of those obvious ones. We can add clarity to the subject, or again, we can take away a little bit from the background, but don't go overboard with this, and make sure to keep an eye on your exposure and your saturation, because the more clarity you add, the less saturation you'll have, and then also the contrast, the exposure starts to go a little bit wacky. But again, be subtle, don't go overboard, don't add a ton of clarity to a face, for example, and don't take away too much clarity from the background, or else it kind of gets this 80s dreamlike vibe. Unless you're going for that look, then have at it. Then number 4, saturation. Your eyes are always going to be drawn to the most saturated things in the image. So why not add some saturation to your subject or take away from the background? In most cases, I like to take away saturation from the background. Adding saturation can be a really tricky thing, and next thing you know, you look like a Oompa Loompa, and nobody really wants that. Then number 5, this one is probably the least obvious one, but it's to add color contrast. So this is kind of in the realm of the whole teal and orange thing, but basically we can choose opposite colors to really make something pop. And what you want to do with this is have your subject and the background be opposite or complementary colors. So you want to add a little bit of one color to the background and then add the opposite to your subject. Now, most of the time we're working with people as our subjects, so you're gonna wanna keep the person, your subject, neutral or a little bit warm just to highlight the skin tones. And then we're gonna add the opposite or complementary color, which is teal, to the background. Now you could really choose any colors you want. The key here is just to choose opposite or complementary colors. That way your subject is gonna really pop out from the background. And if you don't know what opposite or complementary colors are, just look at a color wheel, choose a color, and then go to the exact opposite spot on that color wheel, and that's your complementary or opposite color. Also, Adobe Color can be a really great tool for working with different colors or trying to find complementary colors. Now look at the difference between the before and the after images using these 5 techniques to really make your subject pop out from the image. It really makes your subject stand out. And remember, I was going pretty hard at this because it is for a thumbnail. If this was, for example, for Instagram, I would not go this hard. A subtle look is almost always better than going really hard and like crazy punchy on this. Okay, so problem solved. Your photos are now more poppy, and I'd love to see what you guys do with this technique. So if you have a photo that you edited using these techniques, post it on Twitter or Instagram, tag me in it, and yeah, I look forward to seeing some of these. Just have fun with it, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.